Hello, Dota 2 fans, or shall I say, buenos dias, aficionados de Dota 2. We are in South America. It is the grand finals of the Dota Summit 8 South American qualifiers. Sacred taking on Infamous in this one. MRP here, Beyond the Summit, your resident Canadian Dota 2 caster to chronicle the action for you. We got a best of 5 coming your way. And 9 of the 10 players in this matchup from Peru. So a lot of Peruvian pride, hopefully, in the chat. But 5 of these 10 players are going to make their way to California to join the likes of Optic, OG, Kingwin, and Fnatic, who were decided, whose qualifiers were, decided this morning in the EU and SEA region. So a couple of teams already, had kind of some dreams realized this morning, maybe even more so from this region, making it to a tournament like the Summit where they can fraternize with their peers and meet some of the talent would be awesome for either of these squads. So, yeah, winner takes a trip to beautiful California as an early Christmas gift to themselves. These players are going to look for a victory here. December 13th is when the Summit 8 minor LAN begins. Let's hop into the draft. Infamous going to take away the King Tekka Nature's Prophet as well as the Lich, which Sacred has first picked many of the games thus far in the qualifiers. So certainly both these teams doing their homework here. Sacred pretty standard with their bans as far as Beastmaster and Bane. I feel like they've banned them against most of their opponents, if not all. And they actually just end up taking out the Lion here. Schofield, yesterday for Infamous, looked absolutely stunning on his Lion, as well as his Night Stalker. So, more than warranted in those bans are King Tekka and his boys. So, Papita, I said 9 of 10 players. Papita, the only non-Peruvian in this matchup. He is wearing the crown for Infamous in the drafter's seat. And he hails out of Argentina. But either way, with the new major minor system being put in place, really is heartwarming to see all these different regions having a chance to dabble in LAN tournaments, travel the world. And Infamous actually going to take a page out of Sacred's book. They run it themselves from time to time as well, but this is something I see Sacred run fairly often, is that first phase Undying. They do lean on the Brewmaster as well. And in general, South American Dota kind of screams team fight and run at you sort of style. So no surprises on that front. Wyvern Clockwork picks to open things up for Sacred as we enter the second ban phase. Already some decent ways to deal with the Wyvern. Cyclone her up using the Wind Bruling. You can always Decay and Soul Rip on top of the Cold Embrace as well. So some decent ways to deal with the Wyvern. Similarly, can Cyclone up the Clockwork. Weaver ban is pretty standard for Infamous against the vast majority of their opponents. Puck ban feels a lot more targeted. Leo Styles, in my opinion, best hero in that mid lane is the Puck. And he seems to prove that assertion every time he has the Puck in his hands. Anti-Mage Rubik bans coming out for Sacred. Sacred with a great Rubik player of their own. Of course, the ability to instantly displace the Clockwork out of the cogs is always going to be very nice. Winter's Curse, a rather easy spell to steal. So they will remove Rubik themselves here. And, Rubik, Wyvern, very similar in their purpose, I would say, overall. Lena. As far as stable laning supports go, Rubik has a little more of an inclination to roam, whereas Wyvern generally a bit more stagnant, but for that reason, not really needed. So a nice combination up with the Clockwork here for Sacred side, as Infamous mulls over their 4th pick. They'll grab the Lena. Queen of Pain is going to be picked up before that by Infamous, so feels like more often than not this is a fairly even middle lane. Lina versus Quap. Lina with a slightly easier Lina is a little bit better at pushing the lane. I'll just reword that because I couldn't finish that first sentence. So see, she has a little bit of an easier time controlling at least the positioning of the lane, but overall feels like a pretty even matchup. Both have long range, Quap with a slightly better right-click animation. So overall, it's going to come down to skill in that lane. Still no real roamer for Sacred if you consider the clock a core, but often they do run it in the 4 position for Matthew. So he could be spending some time over towards that mid lane. Disruptor is not a pick that we see all that often. And Infamous will grab it here. Of course, nice against the Clockwork. Hooks in. You can glimpse him back. You can also just Static Storm over the cogs. Although that's not necessarily ideal in most cases. Definitely drop a Static Storm on a Cold Embrace target. And is definitely a great hero to have up against the Juggernaut, which was picked into it. Of course, you get the spin off first, you should be okay. There is potential for you to be able to pop that before the storm is landed, as long as it's not an Aghanim storm. Well, even if it is. What a weird thought, MRP. Juggernaut, not a BKB builder. So in general, that ultimate should prove to be rather effective. Sand King ban. I mentioned that there's possibly missing a roamer for Sacred side if they feel the Clockwork can lane. And Clockwork high base HP hero can kind of burn the mana of Undying, so it definitely feels like he can lane. Infamous in general, they throw the Undying mid and then bottom, usually, depending on who's bottom. And they do have a Brewmaster here, but into the Wyvern, it's a tough lane to... Wyvern Juggernaut, for that matter. It's a tough lane to apply pressure to. So to some extent, I do expect the Undying to sit mid and top more so than bottom, as Brewmaster should be happy enough to simply make the Juggernaut have a poor time last hitting.
Earth Shaker.
As well as soaking his levels. So we get the Earthshaker pick to round out the lineup for Sacred. And that instant Blink Stun Echo can be very effective both versus the Queen of Pain and the Brewmaster, who rely on, you know, the Primal Split and the Blink for elusivity and in order to kind of dictate the fights. Maybe I should say survivability in the case of the Brewmaster as opposed to elusivity. But just more units around with the Brewling. Echo Slam should prove rather effective. However, you know, there is a Tombstone potentially on the floor, so that's always going to make any Blink wielder's life a little bit more difficult. Last pick to come out here for Infamous will be a safe laner. Wouldn't mind something that carries an Orchid, like a Clinks. They do need a building hitter. Sven stands out in that front, but up against the Cold Embrace, Sven is not a perfect hero. Clockwork decent at kiting him around as well. Anything with big physical damage always going to be nice against a Juggernaut. You know, Lifestealer, Clinks, Sven, all of these heroes come to mind. Terrorblade, a possibility here, but against the Lina and the Splinter Blast and the Earthshaker, illusion-based heroes don't seem all that enticing. We'll see where Pepita goes with this last pick. The Slark was banned, and Sacred, you know, watching yesterday, Infamous's games yesterday, considering that high on the pecking order for Infamous. But they'll finish it off with Kotaro Hayama's Lone Druid here. Very interesting pick, not very susceptible to the Clockwork. in general. He's got his bear in front of him. Does kind of fit the bill of high physical damage. Also fits the role of structural or seizure. And is a self-sufficient laner, which can allow the Undying to roam mid, make Leo Styles' life a little bit worse. There have been games where it feels, you know, despite Benjaz's veteran experience and, you know, overall fairly solid play, that if you shut down Leo Style, this Sacred team becomes a lot less potent as a lineup. They seem to kind of lose their way when Leo Style isn't firing on all cylinders. So we'll see if that is the intention with that kind of self-sufficient safe laner in the Lone Druid. We're in for a good one, guys. Best of 5 beginning right now. Beyond the Summit presents the Summit 8. And that is going to kick off December 13th. The winner of this series makes their way there to join Optic OG, Kingwin, and Fnatic. And Sacred has felt like a bit of a Cinderella story for them. Their run, perhaps not expected throughout this qualifier, but they have looked really sharp at times. They've looked shaky at others. Pain really actually seemed to outclass them. They dropped down to the lower bracket and made it through to this position, but Pain, just for some context, did really hand it to them, and Infamous beat Pain yesterday in order to get here. So on paper, you know, you would consider Infamous the favorite. Old Stinger, though, gonna run into a ward briefly. Matthew can't really make a move on him. And already we get pings instantly out from Schofield to say, let's go contest their rune. If the clock works that far forward, he must have backup with him. And Excel will see that. No one around this bottom rune for the Sacred side. So it'll still be a standard 2-2 trade. And both sides getting some warding down in this early going as well. One of the coolest changes, in my opinion, in 707 was giving these TPs at loadout. I've seen so many cool plays as far as first bloods and rune contests, and still, you know, having enough of a window to TP back and get the lane block down, which is going to be in the favor of Leo Sal here early on. He'll secure the range creep with his Dragon Slave. And for now, the Undying is parked in this top lane. So I mentioned how they often put him mid to top, or mid to off lane, I should say, to be more explicit. And that is the case here. Interesting to see, on the other side of things, Sacred having this tri-lane up top. And I suppose, just watching Infamous's play, you expect the Undying to come into the off lane, and so they're just securing some farm for their Juggernaut here. But it feels like if any team has a little more potential to roam, it is Sacred. Wyvern Juggernaut, pretty solid safe lane. And, you know, with your Earthshaker, perhaps you can net some kills on the Disruptor. Lone Druid, he's a good laner in the sense that he can keep his distance, and it's hard to kill him. But he can't necessarily, you know, help his supports out until he gets some points up in that Savage Roar, which often is not all that early. So far, slightly in the lead as far as CS goes is the Radiant squad for Infamous. Now, Cogs are going to catch Stinger here. Arctic Burn will come out, and there is a spin on the south side. He could be in trouble. This should be your first blood, and it is. Matthew, the one with a Battery Assault ticket, seems to pick that kill up. And Sacred starting out to a 1-0 lead in this best-of-5 grand final. Back up into the lane, though, goes Old Stinger alongside Excel, who's got 12 strength from a couple of decays here. And make that 20. Arcane Rune bottom. Nobody paying it any mind thus far. As far as the mid lane goes, Pepita with a slight advantage, the sole Argentinian in the game. 8 to 6. 8 and 6 to the 7 and 2. Blink forward, actually, after the Dragon Slave was used, but right into an LSA. Pepita trying to trade here, but the Fiery Soul stacked. Sacred. Oh, wow, they get the Soul Rip off, and luckily, a timely rotation from the Undying is going to mean that Infamous take the mid lane. I was, on the cusp of saying Sacred taking a commanding early lead here with a kill in the mid lane and the first blood, but it will be Infamous to get it before, and so the experience bounty is going to go the way of the Queen of Pain. Excel could be in a little bit of trouble here as Leo Style comes back to lane off of a fresh refill, health and mana-wise.
Nah.
He'll catch himself an LSA. He's only level 1 at this point. But still, the Fiery Soul, we're seeing it do some work here. And as I mentioned in the draft, Undying going to spend a good amount of time here in the mid lane as Excel wrapping around. Meanwhile, Stinger, top lane, cogged up and slowed by the Arctic Burn. Body blocks are there from Matthew as well. Fairy Fire not going to save him, only going to delay things. Kinetic Field does come down though, and nicely toggled. The aggro goes from Benjaz to Matthew. Beautiful play by the Clockwork, and it may even get them a second kill here. Benjaz finds Schofield. TP's inbound from the Brewmaster. Old Stinger looking to find a revenge kill here as Matthew sticks up, looks for the TP out. Clap miss. He'll be successful. Sacred in this early game are looking sharp. And I know this is totally irrelevant to some people, but I have to say, 10 minutes before game start, all 5 Sacred players were in the lobby before a single Infamous player joined. Infamous joins as 5 pretty much on the dot at 5 p.m. and asks for 5 minutes. So perhaps a little bit more prepared mentally, the Sacred side, and it does seem to be the case here early on. Excel, no bottle on him for his Queen of Pain or anything of that nature as he TPs into the mid lane. Matthew make his presence known, and meanwhile the Lone Druid diving with Schofield, who now hits level 3, will find a kill on the Earthshaker. Mid lane, Cog bounce out onto Excel, who picks up the double damage rune, and alongside his Queen of Pain will pick up a couple of last hits off the Cogs. Meanwhile, pincered in is the Earthshaker once again. He gets rooted up, first hit, and the kinetic field's going to be there. He may die again instantly as he TPs back to lane, and we've seen the Brewmaster go down a couple times in this game, but quickly the Radiant safe lane going to square that advantage up as they're able to drop the Earthshaker 2 times in about 20 seconds. Blink forward mid lane. Soul Rip will keep Pepita in fighting shape as he throws out a glancing blow. And Old Stinger once again may be aggressed upon in this top lane. Looks like Matthew for now, his main concern is just to secure the 6-minute bounty rune. And he should be able to do that as Excel rotates in. No, Battery Assault will be there. Decay gets off. There'll be a Soul Rip soon. And he won't get it off because of the Cog bounce. Old Stinger comes through, gets the Drunken Haze there. I expected the Soul Rip to come out, but the bounce prevents him from doing so. Stinger going to do a little taunting. Masoku going to rotate in. Arctic Burn at the ready, but as he pops the Shrine, they'll think better of it. Haste Rune picked up by King Tekka. He told me in the lobby that he prefers Queen Tekka at this point because he's gay. I don't know if that troll was trolling me or not, but either way. I think either of Queen or King are better than calling him Vato Loco. Bottom lane, Lone Druid doing Lone Druid things. And we'll continue to beat away onto the tower now under the cover of smoke. Schofield and Excel. We talked about the importance of the draft in shutting down Leo Style. They're going to blink forward on him immediately. And she will go for the Laguna Blade. Schofield kept up with the Soul Rips. Leo Style, though, still fairly healthy here. Sonic Wave over the top will now finish him off. And the glimpse back to the Wyvern is to top lane. Rotations in from Matthew, therefore, cannot continue the fight. Very nicely played by Schofield. And despite dropping the Laguna, and her entire complement of spells. Schofield unable, or excuse me, Leo style unable to grab himself a kill before falling. Huge kill going the way of Infamous, and a nice rotation from them. Kind of, you know, distracting by going for the tier 1 bottom lane. Maybe the Earthshaker calling for help, and the two supports, Excel and Schofield, make their way towards mid and find themselves a bounty in that Lina. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Schofield again wrapping as King Tekka, he's used his Fissure, could be a little bit vulnerable now. Radiant Vision does see him back, but that'll be all she wrote. Now Excel, top lane, Undying gets a 2-man decay off, but this seems to only delay the inevitable here. Gets a soul rip off as well, but Benjaz for his third, I believe, no, second kill, 2 assists thus far, but 4th kill involvement for the Juggernaut, who has 47 CS, so considering he's got Drunken Haze in his lane, pretty admirable. Keeping up with the Lone Druid. Speaking of that Lone Druid, though, more than likely Kotaro Hayama going to finish off this tower bottom lane all by his lonesome here. And mid lane, two-man LSA. Now the Laguna Blade finishes off the Disruptor, but Tombstone Slow is there. And Soul Rip, Papita does not have a Blink Scream. He's thinking about it, though. And the Cold Embrace will be there as they see the Wyvern rotate in. All 2 illusions, though. Gonna scout the Lina. Papita, he's thinking about going in, but as the Salve begins to queue up here, he will play it safe. I talked about this yesterday, as Sacred like to draft Undying a lot. Lina, one of the better counters, in the sense that she has a very long range and good attack speed with the Fiery Soul stacks. Rotation in from the Lone Druid. He'll get the Savage Roar off, and now the split coming through from the north side as well. Getting low, though, is Kotaro. Because of the Battery Assault, he was all by himself. He needs to try and make it out of this one. He's a very valuable hero, and the Omni Slash pretty much soaked up here for the Juggernaut, meaning he cannot continue to press. So Kotaro's rotation will be a successful one as they get 2 kills, and the first Primal Split utilized in that endeavor as well. So Infamous fighting back after a very convincing early start from Sacred. This does give King Tekka some time in the bot lane, however. He'll have his Soul Ring and level 6 up on the Earthshaker. Still nowhere near that all-important Blink Dagger, but making strides to get there in an otherwise difficult lane. TP into the top lane from the Lone Druid as he's taken all he needs to take in this bottom lane. And perhaps as a unit, they'll look to start to work on the Dire tier 1. Bot lane, though, Sacred posturing up rather aggressively. Rocket Flare will scout out the Disruptor, and coming through is King Tekka. Kinetic Field may catch him, but looks like the Disruptor should drop here. He's not even going to attempt to TP out, and I think that was a wise choice from Schofield, as he'll at least be able to TP out a base after dying. Okay, goes for the TP now. Okay. Alright. What do I know? Meanwhile, Papita mid lane does get the Leo-style Lina, perhaps the more important kill across the map. Actually, certainly the more important kill. And Leo-style all chatting the old patented South American XD. Alright, I don't know if it's entirely South American, but whenever I have Peruvian teammates, I see a lot of XDs after deaths in chat. Top lane, Arctic Burn flies out, but has his bear well positioned to drop off the Savage Roar, and will get the Fear now. Now going to chase towards the Wyvern, needs a root, will not get it just yet, and could be able to just blink back his bear. Will do so. Glimpse back, though, into the field. Masoku in trouble here now. Cold Embrace, he gets it off before he's glimpsed, but it'll only delay the inevitable death of the Wyvern. Now Benja is kind of stuck around this top lane, not really farming very much. As top lane, a skirmish breaks out and could be in trouble. The Lone Druid, Schofield trying to soak up this Battery Assault, and he got very fortunate with the bounces still onto the Lone Druid, but Kotaro turning to fight. Thunderstrike will be there. Soul Rip finishes off the Clockwork, and again, with only a sliver of HP, Kotaro's Lone Druid survives. Now mid lane, Static Storm going to be used onto Leo Style. Do they have enough damage to bring him down, though? Pepita dodges the LSA, but the Fissure, the Echo Slam, does not have the blink out. And the turn from King Tekka is there. And we see that they barely have enough damage to kill off the Queen of Pain. Those solo echoes on cores, not nearly as effective as they once were. Now top lane, Omnislash going to fly out on Excel. He gets the soul rip off, but he will drop. And action all over the map as 19 kills have been attained 13 minutes into the game by both squads combined. So at that 13-minute mark, this Scrubcaster will finally take a look at net worth. Winter's Curse goes out top lane. The Bear going to put a little bit of punishment, into Disruptor, who has some stick charges. Glimpse should be available if he gets the vision. Does he get it, though? Looks like because it's nighttime, he will not. Glimpse is level 4, so has tons of range. As Matthew cops a decay. Meanwhile, Leo Style working on the tower mid, and we'll put it just outside of deny range. Kotaro takes out that tier 1 that he intended to 4 or so minutes ago in the dire top lane. And Old Stinger, Primal Split at the ready. He has a Force Staff. So opts for the Force Staff before the Blink Dagger, more than likely because he's facing a Clockwork here. Force Staff, of course, provides tons of utility against that hero. Scan is going to catch Benjaz briefly, and Excel hanging around in the pit, looking for someone to bite the bait of that Arcane Rune, but no one will serve. Rocket Flare does not scout any of Infamous, and maybe is a false positive for Masoku here. As Pepita, he gets his smoke popped and will make an engagement. Arcane Rune used. Masoku going to make it back to safety. Tombstone up on the high ground is rather awkwardly placed here. And under Ward Vision is the entire lineup of Infamous. Rocket Flare thrown towards Pepita. Nice blink back by the Bear of Kotaro. And he'll dodge the LSA. Jump forward, Primal Split. Hookshot's going to miss because of it. And Matthew essentially cogs himself into danger here. He'll be chased down. Winter's Curse does connect onto 4, though. And that is going to be a dead Disruptor. They still want to pursue for more, though. Does the Infamous squad. They do have the high ground here, but no Tombstone. Primal Split expiring. Nice usage of the Earth Panda by Old Stinger. So good micro to get himself to a safe position. And all is said and done. A Hookshot and a Primal Split committed from either side. Winter's Curse there as well, which is, I suppose, not that large of a cooldown alongside the Hookshot. So really the big ultimates expended by Infamous here, and nothing much attained. They have an Echo Slam available. They'll use the Fissure and the Cogs. Isolate out the Undying. He's going to get pushed back and brought down. They tried to use the Force Staff on him, but he turned the wrong way. So Stinger unable to save his Undying. Now the Sonic Wave coming through. Glimpse back into the Static Storm with the Cold Embrace there on the Lina. They need to bring her down, and they finally do. Pepita being pursued out by the Earthshaker, but I don't think he has necessarily kill potential. And now Savage Roar going to find the Clockwork here. Benjaz trying to chase down Kotaro, and can he do it? Nice Force Staff from the Brewmaster. Oh, he does not save the Lone Druid, however. Now Benjaz, Fissure is there, and he gets the Haste Rune. He'll get the Healing Ward off, and now he wants more. Arctic Burning going to be there onto Old Stinger. Benjaz healing up here. Thunderstrike is there, though. And the Scream of Pain 1 second before the spin was available. Now Echo Slam's going to be there onto the Queen of Pain, but it just doesn't do enough damage with the Fissure, though. They'll kill off the Queen. Stinger forced to force himself up to the high ground. And when all is said and done, a crazy and chaotic fight here as Old Stinger rocket flared up but not brought down. And fight recap showing 3 for 3. The Disruptor did die at the beginning, however. So I want to say this is a 4 for 3 for Sacred side. Yes, so 4 for 3 according to the graph here. And any lead that Infamous accrued to this point nullified in both net worth and experience, and they're up 1 tower as well, so you can consider that a little bit more potential gold on the map for Sacred side. What did I do with the vision? Interesting to see Infamous continue to fight there, losing their Disruptor instantly to that Winter's Curse and kind of wasting their Primal Split mid lane. Glimpse back onto the Wyvern, jump forward, Scream of Pain will finish her off and secure the tower here. So Infamous with a necessary and appropriate response to that, I want to say, team fight loss. And the metrics seem to agree. Jump forward. They get the slow from the Drunken Haze. Pepita, though, gets fogged here. Now a glimpse back onto Matthew. They'll clap him up. Decay is there as well. He tries to use the hook shot to get out, but they'll soak it. And now can put some punishment into this tier 2. Kotara working on his Hurricane Pike, it seems, but already has the Dragonlance Aquila, Wand, and Maelstrom. So very farmed on the Lone Druid, and the net worth chart indicative of that. Masoku now going to try and fly over the trees, but Pepita going to find him. He could be in trouble, though. He's in the midst of 2 heroes. Now a glimpse back on the Earthshaker into the Static Storm. They need to kill him off under the Silence. Winter's Curse will keep the rest of the Radiant lineup at bay, however. And again, Schofield getting low, but he doesn't drop this time. They'll get the Earthshaker and the Wyvern almost simultaneously. And a beautiful Cyclone coming out from Stinger is going to find Leo Style as well. He's going to get feared up into the wall of the kinetic field, and he'll be dropped to the Scream. Pepita with a double kill. And with the Urn Charge, they are in fighting shape here. 3 heroes on the sidelines. They may just need a buyback from their Lina, else they could risk losing a set of racks here. They did use the Winter's Curse, did not use the Echo Slam. As Benja is going to jump in. Kotaro thinking about it continuing forward. But for now, Infamous content with their spoils. Big stakes for this game. Hookshot will not land. Vision from the ward is there. But now, King Tekka with the fresh blink finds a 2-man Echo. And the Omni Slash is there as well. Now the Lone Druid going to drop on the way out. The extraction is not a clean one for Infamous. They could be in further trouble here. No Force Staff available for Stinger. He's going to get caught. 3 heroes down. And the wave is nowhere near the tier 2 here for Sacred, unfortunately. Up back on their side of the river. So they probably won't get a tier 2 tower, but they can take a peek into the Roche pit if they so please. For now, it looks like they have their sights set on the Pepita Queen of Pain. And she's going to get earned up. Of course, that doesn't cancel her blink because it's a spell.
Regeneration.
Will Wand. Rocket Flare is not going to scout her and safely TP back to base.
A gift from the Tempest of Battle.
A huge Omni Slash there from Benjaz is going to put him at almost parity as far as farm goes with the Juggernaut. With the Lone Druid, excuse me.
Money to burn.
The Juggernaut, the subject of conversation. So Courier has basically a Force Staff for Schofield, if not a full one. He does have, yes, the recipe on his person. He glimpses back to Leo Style, and the Savage Roar actually does miss, but they get the root, so a couple of more right clicks should net the kill here. And Leo Style, once again, just looking to bring down the Disruptor before dying, but cannot do so successfully. Excel has the good old patented puppy casual buckler at the moment. Nothing queued up in the quick buy. Old Stinger did pick up a Midas second item after the second major item after the Force Staff here, looking to scale, and he is currently level 12. So you compare that to his laning counterpart in the Earthshaker, who's level 13. Should be just fine. But after that big Echo Slam, King Tekka, he is very farmed on this Earthshaker. Shadow Blade, now he has Echo Slam as well, and he'll use it, trying to kill off the Queen of Pain, and he'll get it done. Who says solo Echo Slams don't work anymore? King Tekka with a huge kill on the Queen of Pain. He's going to surmount her as far as net worth goes. And Sacred are showing that they are no slouches in this South American region. Very impressive the last few days. Still, there is kind of the unaddressed issue of this Lone Druid, who sits in king position as far as farm, but there are a lot of Sacred heroes in good contention. Perhaps the most notably behind where he'd want to be is Leo Styles' Lina. Maybe I should say where she'd want to be. Even though, oh, well, that's not long for this world. This ward just dropped down, unfortunately. Rocket Flare will scout Stinger in the pit, and that will likely deter Infamous from a Roche attempt, or maybe it doesn't. They feel perhaps with this vision on the high ground that they have enough information. Benja's going to rotate through Schofield. They jump forward. He already has a Manta, though. And so this Orchid from Pepita, not going to do much. Manta Diffusal's there. Hookshot going to whiff onto Pepita. Jump forward from Old Stinger. He's going to get the clap off. Goes for the split. Wyvern in trouble. And it looks like Sacred just going to bail here. Long range right clicks from Kotaro are going to take out the Wyvern. Now the Clockwork in trouble as well. He's getting incinerated very, very slowly. And will the boulder toss be there in time? It is, but it's kind of slow. Now jump forward from Pepita. He does have the Orchid up. Gets it off onto the Clockwork. It's a very tanky Clockwork, though, with 17 stick charges and 1,300 HP. And now Excel, he's in trouble. 3-man Fisher comes through. Static Storm trying to sound the retreat. Stinger gets his clap off, but one big right click from the Enchant Totem kills him off. Blinking away to the west is Pepita. His Sonic Wave dodged by the Omni Slash. And now the Disruptor, forced up by to the high ground, is trying to make it away but won't be able to do so. And they get the Wyvern early, but Sacred outlast their opponents in this fight. And with Roshan at about 60% HP, they'll take a peek into the pit, and 35 seconds, no Disruptor. They should be able to take this Roche as well. Now Pepita jumps forward, finds an Orchid onto the Earthshaker. Do they have enough detection? He's going to get Cold Embraced up. Can they kill him off, though? No Sonic Wave available. Pepita forced to blink defensively. Fisher's going to trap Excel in front of his Tombstone. He's going to get brought down. Leo Style taking a lot of right clicks from Kotaro. He's going to force himself forward. He can't kill... Oh, he does kill off the Healing Ward. And now the cogs from Matthew actually end up killing him effectively. But Benjaz does survive for the time being. Pepita thinking about pursuing forward. Benjaz going to go for the TP out, and he will be successful. So Aegis goes to the hands of Leo Style, and the Dire do get the Roche kill as well. Big win for them, despite being down a tier 3. And the Tricore of the Dire team here for Sacred, nipping at the heels of this very farmed Kotaro Lone Druid, who's got the full Mjolnir at this point. But no one else really at a scary level of farm for the Radiant. Pepita is keeping up, you know, at best here. Has the bare necessities with the Orchid. Looking for the flyover into the curse was Masoku, but Infamous will back in due time. And Midas has not really net Stinger any more further item progression, at least. You know, levels coming slowly, but talk about Benjaz shortly, or briefly here, as he's working on a Blink Dagger. Blink Manta Diffusal gives him a lot of kill potential on the back lines. Perhaps can force out the... So weird. I've never seen the Diffusal Blade, you know, post 7.707 with no numbers on it. Very weird looking. But possibly force out a Static Storm, things of that nature. They've got all the tools available to King Tekka here on his Earthshaker as well. And after, you know, what should have been a tough laning stage for him, and he did die twice. He's had an excellent game. The one very meaningful Echo Slam here. Got one on the Queen of Pain solo as well, and now looking for more. This is a big target, but so big, in fact, that solo kill potential not really there for King Tekka. Leo Style gonna get some pings. As the pace of the game begins to slow. Schofield, nothing to speak of since his 4-staff pickup, which was a fair amount of time ago. Matthew has a Rocket Flare available. Dire Vision is a bit lacking. Rocket Flare now will just barely, it seems, scout the animation of the blink away, but now King Tekka Walking under sentry range, in fact. And the cast of the kinetic field will tip them to that. They do get down the ward using the quelling blade on the lone druid bear. And we'll use the static charge from the Mjolnir to finish off the wave. Eagle Song in the inventory of Kotaro, looking for his butterfly here.
Yes.
And they have had a hard time. Sacred has finding pressure on Kotaro here. Lone Druid looking much like a quarterback on this football Sunday.
No parts.
King Tekka bot lane after the blink of Pepita. It is nighttime, so perhaps did not catch a glimpse of him by the tower. And Disruptor's not on his team, so couldn't glimpse him even if he did. Kappa.
A gift from the tempest of battle.
Looking at a BKB, is this Earthshaker? And certainly versus the Static Storm, he's going to be one of the highest priority targets for that ultimate from the Disruptor, so would be nice for him to shrug that off. Both sides convening on opposite sides of the map, and Sacred are the first ones to be able to make it to the tier 2. Meanwhile, top lane, Benjaz blinks out. He could be in trouble here. And probably got glimpsed and then... no, didn't actually. Thought he might have got glimpsed, then blinked out. Meanwhile, though, they're going to find a very big target here up on the high ground in the mid lane, and that's Kotaro. They bring him down without any response. And that'll likely tip Infamous to the fact that this vision is here, but nonetheless, a massive kill, and conveniently for Sacred, the lane at a position in front of the tower where they can look to pressure for this objective. Fisher does catch Excel. Unfortunately, LSA not able to land for Leo Styles' sake. And Leo Style will continue a spell casting and a fireball throwing. Try and bring this tower down with his pike. Gets the LSA off in front of the Fisher here, and this could be a dead Brewmaster. He may be forced to use his split as well, and he is. There's no Lone Druid, though, and they need to think twice about chasing forward. Winter's Curse going to be dropped onto the Brewlings. Boulder Smash still goes out as the Earthling was not the target of the curse. Now Masoku pretty much out of mana. Scream and Pain is going to be there. Orchid up onto Matthew's Clockwork as well. Brewling still looking to chase down the Wyvern. They've cogged in Pepita, who will blink over to the east and try and take out the Wyvern. Masoku is just impossible to kill on this Wyvern. They finally get him with the Sonic Wave. Pepita blinks to the north and therefore will not be caught by the LSA. Nice clap from Old Stinger, but he's getting low, and he will likely be brought down. Orchid is there onto Matthew. Should die to the Soul Burn, if nothing else. Nice denial from Leo Style with the Shadow Strike ticking away, and now Kotaro's finally made it to the fray here, but his bear too far forward to right-click without the hero nearby. And so they basically trade a Brewmaster for 2 supports, but it is a positive trade overall for the Radiant side, as 1, they could have lost their tier 2, and 2, they could have just lost the Brewmaster for free and then the tier 2, but he elects to split, and they do get something valuable out of that split. Meanwhile, bot lane, a little bit of vision. They try and find Pepita. LSA is there. Can they kill him off? They will. Echo Slam not even needed. Very economic play there by King Tekka, who's maybe along with Masoku has felt like MVP or Sacred in this one. And it's always a very confidence boosting phenomenon when your captain is playing the best. Scotty being worked on by Benjaz may even just be complete here, and it is. He just needs that point booster to be delivered. Mid lane, Masoku throwing out the Arctic Burn. Old Stinger does have a Primal Split available. Will not get caught by the Splinter Blast, but the Laguna Blade and the Echo Slam are enough to kill him off. Static Storm pretty much completely whiffs. They do lock down Leo Style, but the Winter's Curse is there to keep him alive. Cold Embrace is there as well. A 3-man Cogs. They get the Orchid off onto the Lina, though, and now Matthew, because of it, is completely isolated. Unfortunately, Leo Style couldn't turn on that Cogs with an LSA because he got Orchided up. Now with Diffusal Manta, though, Pepita in trouble. They force staff him defensively. Continue to chase forward. Need a root here. LSA keeps the bear back. Pepita gets hit with the Splinter Blast. Masoku is going to Cold Embrace himself up, and now a glimpse back onto Leo Style's Lina. Everyone going to be able to dodge the LSA, but they can't bring down Leo Style with the Omni Slash flying through, killing off the Brewmaster. Fisher connects on 2. LSA is there as well. It's a disaster for Infamous. And Sacred outlast them, kite them, split them up, and pick them apart. Lovely piece of execution there from the all-Peruvian squad, as they stare down Infamous's base now. 2 heroes, 2 cores with no buyback, and an Undying no buyback for 20 seconds. That is a lane of racks here, folks. More than likely for Sacred. Undeterred, down a tier 3. They continue to battle, and now a blink forward. They'll find the Disruptor for free. He's down, no buyback. And Infamous are crumbling slowly. Split used up. Brewlings all pretty much dead here. Benjaz can continue to chase forward. That Brew is dead. And that could be the end of this first game, as Benjaz makes his way down to bottom. There's still a tier 2 standing top here. And Rocket Flare is going to scout out Excel and Pepita. They're not going to make any moves towards the enemy team by themselves. Pepita looking to just push out top lane, but that's 2 lanes of racks down here. And a smoke extraction from Sacred. They should be elated with the last couple of events that have occurred. As they'll take out the top shrine. Pepita hanging around top 2. Masoku nearby. Doesn't want to use the Winter's Curse just yet. His support was a little bit far away. They have a Rocket Flare available. It will not scout the Queen of Pain, unfortunately for Matthew. Would have been a very, very close attempt at a hook shot, even if the Rocket Flare has scouted her. But Sacred, they'll get 2 lanes of racks, and now the desperation attempt to contest Roche is here. Schofield going to drop the Static Storm down on the Wyvern and glimpses him out of it. And now a big team fight off the table. They'll kill off the Disruptor under the Winter's Curse and jump forward onto the Lone Druid. He will be able to Hurricane Pike himself up to the high ground. Benja's going to work on the Tombstone, gets it done. Right click's coming down from the high ground from Kotaro, but not enough to do much. Matthew actually hooks into the back of his Earthshaker here. Kotaro going to flutter up to the high ground where they're waiting for him. He makes a better decision, though, to go west. And now Arctic Burn up on the high ground for the Wyvern. Rocket Flare is going to scout a few there. Winter's Curse not available, of course, as it killed off the Disruptor in the river.
Yes.
But Aegis and Cheese do go the way of Sacred. Cheese on Leo Styles, Lina, and Aegis. Where? Am I tripping? Someone lose it? I don't know. Okay, Leo Style has the Aegis as well. Alright, I'm just blind. Is it just me, or is there no Aegis here, guys? There's no Aegis in this window. Valve, fix. I found a bug. Yes, maybe someone will watch me cast now. I found a bug. Alright. Back to Dota. Matthew a little bit out of position here mid lane, but he does get the Force Staff through the kinetic field, but glimpse back into it. Yules is going to be there. Now looking for the Echo Slam is King Tekka. He BKBs himself up. Matthew going to Force Staff over to the east and surviving for now, but not long enough. Now the split is there, and the BKB expiring here shortly for the Earthshaker, who is out in no man's land. Scream of Pain's going to be there with the Orchid, and they are going to lose him. Space, though, kind of created here as Benjaz and Leo Style working on the last lane of racks, excuse me, and Schofield will just get blown up by these 2 cores. That is mega secured, space created. And they'll turn back into Pepita. He BKB's late. Now the Omni Slash is there. Undying in trouble. Bounces will be enough. And just by their lonesome, Ben Jazz and Leo Style doing some work. Cold Embrace is there to try and keep the Lena alive. Glimmer Cape there as well, and she will turn and get to work on the Brewmaster. She'll pop the cheese as well. LSA will be there. It does not connect on the Lone Druid, but Ben Jazz still just manning up here. 4-staff forward from Leo Style, and a couple more right clicks into the Lone Druid. They'll finish him off, and GG will be called by the Captain Pepita as they get wiped to end game 1 in sub 40 minutes here. Sacred with a very convincing victory. King Tekka came out of nowhere early in the mid-game, 9, 5, and 12, involved in 21 of those 37 kills. And that, you know, barring just Ben has, was the most involvement of the team. Some huge key echoes where Infamous took a tower lead early. They made some nice rotations. They got their Lone Druid mega farmed and even had, you know, 4-staff Midas on Stinger, but couldn't put it all together as far as the team fights go. And Ben Jazz gets out of control in that one. Ends up with plus 700 plus both GPM and XPM. And the veteran and his squad will take a 1-0 lead in this best of 5, guys. Grand finals here. Winner goes on to beautiful California, where on December 13th, the Summit 8 Minor will commence. Stick around, guys. Game 2 coming up shortly. MRP, BTS here. Infamous versus Sacred.